Hi, this is Homestead Diary, and this is Amber. I wanted to do a little video about how the requirements are increasing, the expectations, the demands, the control, the oversight, the laws, all these things are just increasing. And I don't know if that's kind of the definition of tyranny. You know, it's where government overreach just becomes more and more apparent, where no matter how much you do, no matter how much you document and describe and work in coordination with other people, it's still not good enough. You know, they still want to know more, and data mining, and I'm not against the government. I mean, I worked for the Army for 10 years, but I also know that there's our freedoms that we need to maintain, and our freedom of information, our freedom of privacy, our freedom of just being who we are, and having time to do what we want to do in our lives, rather than 20% to 40% of our income working for the government. I remember in the military, at least 1 to 2 days a week, my earnings would go straight to the government. And what are they doing with it? You know, what are they using it for? Oh, they're building prisons, and for people who don't necessarily need to be in prison, and they're just maintaining the spending. And I did it too, in a way, when I was in the military. You know, I had to justify my job, and so I would find other ways of spending money, not on things that were useless, things that were definitely needed, like a fumigation hood in the pharmacy, so that as people were mixing medications, they weren't breathing them in, or the heavy metal processing of different x-rays and stuff like that that were going down the drain, but they really needed to be tested before they actually got released into the environment. So environmental health is important, not just for the environment, but also for people downstream and in the future on the land. And so I specialized in preventive medicine, so preventing the use of medicine by keeping people healthy, by just maintaining good methods. And but I went from maybe having $5,000 a year as a budget to like $900,000 a year, and I was doing my job very well, and yet people existed without those things. And yeah, maybe people had micro levels of exposure, and over time they would combine and potentially cause some health effects. But I guess the amount of time and energy that we're putting into sustaining our civilization ends up costing our time away from our families. And probably a lot of people are wondering, like, wow, they're at home, and how do they do that? And they don't seem rich, and they're wasting their time making beaded necklaces, or teaching their children, or whatever. And I'm not saying that you can't ask. I mean, put it in the comments, and but we worked very, very hard for what we have, and we live very minimalistic. We make a lot of our own food. We don't eat out a lot. We don't go to the movies. We don't spend money on things that are frivolous, I guess. And so we choose our family, but it's getting harder and harder to choose our family. It's getting to the point where we don't have the rights to make decisions that allow us to stay home. And it's the control is just getting tighter and tighter around our lives, and eventually it breaks free. Eventually it falls away, and a new method forms over time, and there's some anarchy in between. But I wish there was a way of maintaining that middle ground, where there is some regulations that protect the environment and protect people, but not so much where your protection takes you 45 minutes to log into your insurance, where there are so many layers of checking, and I'm going to call your phone now and send you a pin, and then I'm going to call your email and send you a pin, and then you got to verify, and then there's a photo, and then there's another 4-digit pin, and then there's wow. And it's like, you're trying to protect me from what? From other people? Because you're wasting my time to the point where I don't even want to be protected anymore. Please stop protecting me. In a lot of ways, I feel like we don't have a choice. That protection is a requirement now, and freedom is really the requirement. And the more protection and safety and stuff that they provide us, the less freedoms we have, and the more fear-mongering there is. Oh, well, if you don't do this, then your identity can be stolen and you won't be the same person ever again. And that happens, and it's horrible when people have to fight for their identity back because people misuse it. But there's also, a form at which people aren't punished maybe to the point where they should be for taking people's identity, and I'm not saying I like prisons, because I think they're way overpopulated. I think people that are in them are like targeted. They have a hard time getting out of that cycle, and what happens in the prisons are just miserable. And what a way to treat other human beings. I mean, for mistakes that they made, and some people deserve to be in there. Some people do need to be locked up, but some other people, it's not necessary to the point. They could do community service. They could be, doing chain gangs back in the day where they would actually dig ditches and stuff. And who would ever commit a crime if they actually literally had to go out and dig ditches like they used to? People would be more likely to take a job and contribute to society in some way. They could start running farms and, growing food and selling it for their future when they get out, or learning how to do a trade that's a lot more beneficial to society. But the fear-mongering, that's what I was going to say, is that it's just so pervasive. And it's terrorism. I mean, it's promoting terror. It is treachery of our instincts, of what we know as being right and wrong, and what we feel we should or should not be afraid of. It's like they're removing our instincts, our ability to discern truth from like a non-reality. And tyranny, treason, terrorism, fear-mongering, war-mongering. I mean, that's no more real than it is right now with propaganda and just being told what to think. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but think for yourselves and make decisions that are the best for you and your family, and try not to base them on fear, because that's not going to help any of us in the future become, I guess, like our grandparents were, hardworking, honorable, trustworthy, resilient individuals. And I choose to be that person that the neighbors feel that they can come to and ask for a cup of sugar, and I know that I can go to them and ask them to help me with a flat tire or something if I needed help with something like that. But just being there for each other, and being strong, and willing to help, volunteering and being willing to do stuff for others and not just yourself, self-sacrifice and leadership. So anyway, I just thought I'd kind of vent on a lot of those things that are coming up for me, where it's just more and more and more regulations and more requirements and more laws and more stringent uses of their knowledge of, anything you're doing and then what you should be doing better. And it just gets to the point where you get overwhelmed, and, who's ever going to accomplish the foundations and the basic stuff when they have too many people telling them what they should be doing and how they should be doing it for their own good. Anyway, signing off. Have a blessed day.